Do you want more? More time, more balance, more love, more sex, more money, more real, and less bullshit? This is the Women Wanting More podcast with Dr. Karen Osborne. Real life, real stories, plus real tips to get you more of what you want.
So I was struck by something really cool that I heard Oprah say on one of her masterclass podcasts, which was, if you listen to any of her, so there's like the Oprah, like the Super Soul Sunday, Super Soul podcast, and then there's the one where it's Oprah's masterclass, and it's a lot of like actors, musicians, celebrities, artists, famous people that kind of share like their story, right? And athletes. And so this one was actually her, which is kind of cool. A lot of stuff. I knew a little bit of Oprah's backstory, like I'm sure that you do, but I didn't know as much of it as she's kind of sharing. And there's something that she said to me that when she was talking about like why she did the Oprah show. And she was sharing a time where she had Phil McGraw, on her show. This would have been before it was like he had the Dr. Phil show, right? And there was a woman that was on the show that it was like 10 years since her daughter had been murdered, and she literally shared on the program that this was like her last goal, like was to get on the Oprah show and to share her story, and then she had plans to go home after that and to kill herself. And there was something that Dr. Phil said to her, something like, you know, what makes you believe? It was kind of something like, you know, she thought that the grief that she was experiencing the morning had to go on for as long as her daughter's life, which was, I guess, her daughter's life was taken when she was just 18 years old. I mean, sad, tragic. You know, if you're a mother, you know, you can kind of go, man, that has to be some of the lowest of lows, is losing your child, you know. And her daughter was murdered, right? So I don't know all the details about it, but it doesn't matter. But Dr. Phil said something to her like, you know, instead of spending all of this time still, essentially, she said every day she relived her daughter's death for 10 years. You know, how about instead that you think about celebrating the 18 years that you had with her? And the way that Oprah shares it is like, was said like in a very loving way. And then she said, this mother said, I never thought of it that way before. And Oprah said she could literally just see her begin to shift on that program of the way that she was seeing something for the first time. And she said that's why she did the Oprah show. She would wait. Inevitably, a lot of guests would, you know, say things at some point that would be like, I never saw it. What was it again? I never saw it that way before. I didn't see it that way before. I'm kind of screwing up a little bit. I'll have it right in the title. I never saw it that way before, I think, or I didn't think of seeing it that way before. And it really struck me. Like, I wrote a Facebook post about it, but I wanted to speak about it more on the podcast because I believe that sometimes we'll hear the biggest truths, the most profound things in the simplest of words, in the you know, what might seem like, well, yeah, duh, like maybe you have to see it in a different way, or maybe, you know, but there was just something that really fucking hit me. And I know it has a lot to do with some stuff that I'm going through in my life right now, but it was like, man, it is so easy to get hung up in our stories, isn't it, of what we think that certain situations or experiences in our life mean, or what they don't mean. And it is very easy to be like set in our way of like, yep, this is what it means. Yep, this is what the next step will be. Yep, this is, you know, as opposed to maybe understanding there's a different way to see it. And it's hard, right? It's hard because there's emotions, there's you know, past history of things, there's you know, what your belief systems are, your ability to adapt to new experiences, stress experiences, or not be able to adapt to them. You know, your willingness to see outside of what can sometimes be the trap of our mind. Right? Our mind wants us to play small. Our mind that still believes we're living in like caveman times where we gotta like, protect ourselves and not show stuff and not be vulnerable. And what if we get eaten by the saber-toothed tiger? And, it's still, our brain is still that. I'm sure that you've heard this before, right? It's like we literally have that same brain, but yet we don't live in that world anymore, right? We don't have to be in that place inside of ourselves of constant fear or, having to judge or, it's not even second guess things, but just like be on high alert, right? Like this thing means that thing. When really we have the ability to maybe see things in a different way. And I think when we see things in one way, as I wrote in my Facebook post, like that's our mind, right? That's our mind that wants us to play small, that wants us to live in fear, that wants to protect. When we choose instead to look inside our heart is what wants us to expand and to open up and to see things differently. And to understand that things aren't always the way that they actually seem. And that the stories that we tell ourselves are often just that. They're stories. Right? What do we say when people are like, maybe ourselves or our kids, we see a scary movie, we're like, it's just a movie. Right? In other words, it's like another way of saying like, it's not real. You don't need to freak out. It's not real. Do you realize that our stories are often the same way? Our stories are often just that. And they often never even fucking come true, but yet we give so much energy and credence to them that we think that they're truth, but they're not. And maybe it's just, instead, it is an opportunity for us to choose to see things in a different way. Because why not? Particularly if the way that you're seeing something in your life right now is taking you down a path that you don't like, right? That is changing you into someone that you are not, that is closing you off to any possibility of the vision that you see and the outcome that you want. Now listen, I'm not talking about like, you got to think these things and manifest that and to, control your thoughts and, oh my God, if you think a negative thought, then you're going to create that. No, I don't believe that to be true at all. I certainly believe that if we focus our energy long enough on things that, yes, the universe starts to respond accordingly. Absolutely. So we do have the ability to be able to see things differently. And maybe that's what this podcast is for you today, sister. Or brother, because we got men listening to the podcast too. Maybe it's time for you to just be open. It doesn't mean you have to believe it. But just be open to the possibility about maybe there's a different way of seeing something right now in your life. Maybe it will come to you. Maybe you'll hear something in this podcast that'll trigger something for you. Maybe you'll be reading a book and you'll kind of like, was like, wow, like I never really saw it that way before. I'm reading an amazing book by a psychologist. His name is Dr. Mark Wolin. He wrote a book that was called It Didn't Start With You. And there's amazing research that's out there and all the ways that he's helped people with his work to understand that a lot of our like emotional stuff, mental, issues, if you will, like depression, anxiety, a lot of physical symptoms, disease states that are in our body, that when they're taking a look at a lot of the brain research, that a lot of it is not just like, the experiences that we had, but it's like our DNA line. It's like our past generations. And how this is not just something that's like a thought. Like this is really what they're finding to be true. And they gave an example in the book, I just started reading the book, of Holocaust survivors, of children of Holocaust survivors. And that they often, and it can be like grandchildren of Holocaust survivors, where they have some of these similar, feelings, the words that they say, like it's wild, right? To go like, man, there is stuff that is deep within us that, is often the reflection of generations before us and the shit that they've gone through physically, mentally, emotionally. That is trying to clear. Do you understand? Like it's trying to resolve itself. I remember when I was in practice, my husband and I was chiropractors. We had our chiropractic practice in St. Albert, Alberta, Canada for about 14 years. And there's a process the body goes through which is called retracing. And what that means is this: the body will retrace and go back through things that have happened to it that haven't completely healed. And so how it often shows up, I've mentioned this a couple times in the podcast, but how it would often manifest is like this. We'd be seeing a patient for a short period of time or a long period of time, or it could be someone who's just a brand new patient, right? And they say, they would say, you know what, these headaches I'm getting, this back pain I'm getting, the whatever it is, the challenge, digestive stuff I'm having, it's just like when I had the car accident. It just feels just like when I had my first child. This is just like they will have a feeling that this is similar to something they've gone through before. And so what that is the body saying, excuse me, you know what, I never got to finish, I didn't complete that healing. And so listen, we got to bring it up, right? So we can process it. We know that emotions are the same way in the body too, right? Or within us. Like if we don't, process stuff, it doesn't matter how much that we try to push it away, or we try to squash it, or we try to pretend it's not there, we try to numb it away. It's just going to keep popping up. And so physically in the body, this definitely happens. And we would see it time and time again. And it often would be like, the body, you'd be given the body the care that it actually needs, and it would be able to fully heal. And then that would be that, it's like it just suddenly, then it's like it got resolved, and it was like, okay, we're good. We've healed through that now. We're now complete. Well, what they're finding in so much of this research now is that these are like generations past, that we kind of inherit that into our genes, into our biology. So the title of this book, It Didn't Start With You. It's like a lot of these things that are coming up for ourselves physically, mentally, emotionally are not just our stuff. It's like our past, it's our parents, it's our grandparents, it's our great-grandparents. Wild, right? So why am I bringing up the story right now? I had a point to this. Why did I bring this up, the story? This is what happens. Number one, this is what happens when if you're ever wondering if I edit my podcast, the answer is I don't. Because this is I want this to be like a real life conversation with you, because that's what it's like for me. And I know that that's what it's like for a lot of you that listen, because you share that with me. But why am I bringing this up? There was a very valid point to this. I get off on tangents. Do you ever do that in conversations sometimes where you go where were we? And as I'm right now too, I'm just kind of parking here because I have a sitter. We have a snow day here in Victoria, which is so freaking weird because we really don't get any snow. Maybe a couple times a year, but it's so rare. It doesn't even get that cold here or anything like that. And we do today. So everything is kind of all out of sorts for me. It is a Tuesday as I record this. The kids are with the sitter right now. They were home yesterday. It's just oh my God, what day is it? So if there's any time that I'm going to feel a little bit off and distracted, it is right now as I record this podcast. But I did have a point. Give me a moment. Let me see if I'm going to find my way back to this as I'm seeing a couple of kids in the park. I'm just parked here because I still have a sitter for another hour and a quarter. They're kind of doing a little bit of tobogganing down this hill, playing in the park, making a gigantic snowman. Oh man, maybe I won't find my way back. And we'll just sit here and ramble on this podcast. And then I'll get this crazy review on iTunes that says, she just fucking rambles. She talks to her car. And I'll go, yeah, that's pretty much truth. It's pretty much truth. Okay, so we're talking about Oprah. And I just didn't see it that way. Okay. So I think the reason I'm giving this example is just a lot of times when it comes to these things that we're experiencing within our bodies, physically, mentally, emotionally, we think that it's just our stuff, right? We didn't see it this way, that there can have this impact and this effect that is the result we're having now in our life is because of these past generations. And a lot of us would never have seen it this way. I'm looking at people that I know that are very close to my life, and I go, oh man, this is someone I know that has a lot of shit. Family stuff with parents, stuff with divorce, stuff with abuse, stuff with, right, where it's and it's been going on for generations. And, he brings up in the book as well, too, that when we can understand that, it's we start to make a little bit of peace with it. A lot of these things tend to resolve within ourselves. All from seeing things in a different way, right? All from understanding of, man, I just didn't see it that way. Or I never thought of it that way before. Isn't that interesting, right? And then once we actually give some want to say credit to it. We give some energy to that. Of like, man, maybe just a different way of seeing something. It's incredible what begins to open up, right? Because in this, like with Dr. Mark Wallen's book, it's, opens up as far as people healing and resolving a lot of physical, mental, emotional challenges within their lives, within their bodies. For some, it's just, maybe it could be something like it's a challenge they're having with their business and they're trying to like figure it out. It could be a challenge within relationships. It could be a way of just seeing this experience in their life that they've painted this picture of it, but it's like, the picture could be different, right? It's kind of like, those pictures, that one, it's like a really famous one where it's like one side of it, you see like the picture of the old lady and the other side you see, I can't remember what it is. It's like two different ways of seeing it, right? It's like, those pictures that will have, like, again, it depends on how you see it, that you can see one thing or you can see another. So imagine if we, instead of saying like, well, this is just the way it is, or this person is the way it is, or just is the way that I am, that if we are not happy with the way that that is giving us what we want or what we don't want within our life, then the solution can be a lot easier than we think. And it's simply being open to the possibility of seeing something in a different way. So here's your more tip for today then, sister. What is something right now that you're really resisting in your life? Like something in a relationship, something in business or work. It could be something that's happening with your health right now. And you are just simply unwilling to see anything than the way that you see it right now. And so here's what I want you to journal is, number one, identify what that situation, that experience or relationship, whatever it is, whatever that is, identify that. And then number two, I want you to journal it, which is this. A different way that I can see this is, and begin to write. Or a different way that I can see them is, or her, or him, or a different way I can see this situation, this experience is, and begin to journal. Because unless we open ourselves into new possibilities of really seeing, there will never be any growth or progress within our life, right? Like, that, right? Life is about growth and expansion and about change and about new and about, it's not about saying that you can't be, I speak to a lot of women that have they get to a very stuck point where they go, well, my life isn't bad. Like, and my marriage is okay. And like, I've got these great kids and I, work is kind of like, it's all right. And like, why can't I just be happy where I am? And they almost have this guilty feeling of wanting more, of feeling like they're being called to something bigger or different. And like, that's lovely to say I'm grateful for where I am, but just know, like, life is about growth. Us moving through painful experiences in our life is about growth and expansion. That's why they're there for us, is to allow us this opportunity just to actually expand and become more of who we're supposed to be. So there you go, sister. Okay, a couple things. Number one, I have something very cool to share with you. Okay, my woman wanted more journals that I gave out 560 or so something over about a 1.5 year period of time. Journals I sent out for free. You take care of a little bit of the shipping. I do all the rest. I've ordered another 100. Yes. And I'm giving some more out. So if you would like one, head over to drkarenolishman.com/free journal. Again, you take care of that little bit of shipping. I do all the rest. So drkarenolishman.com/free journal. Number two, I would love for you to be inside a very exciting community. I created a Facebook group, which is free, and it's called The Journey to Feminine. So go to Facebook right now, go up to the search bar and type in The Journey to Feminine, request to be added to the group. And the very first Women Wanting More 21-day challenge, which I have 22 women that are in the group. We are finishing up this week as I record this podcast, and I am opening up enrollment for another one the end of February 2019. So if you would like to get on to be one of the 21 spots for the next 21-day challenge, where at the end of that challenge, you will have a plan of what you can do to create the life that you want, teaching you all the tools, all the mindset, all the pieces for that, and at an investment that's available to every single woman. I want you to email me and say, I would like to get on the list. I'd like to get on the list. I'll know what that means. I'll respond back, because right now I have a wait list for the next one. Check this out. There's like 31 on the wait list. Isn't that crazy? So it doesn't mean that you're going to necessarily get a spot, but it does mean that you'll have about a 24-hour period to be one of the first ones in. So once you get that email from me saying, hey, it's now open enrollment, here's what you need to do to get one of the 21 spots, act on that pronto, sister, because they're going to go super fast. So the first 21 day challenge, the 21 spots went in 7 days. The first 12 went in 24 hours. So I'm going to tell you right now that these ones are probably going to go in about 48 hours. So email me at drkarenosborn.com. Pardon me, drkarenosborn@gmail.com. So it's drkarenosborn@gmail.com. And say, I would like to be added to the list. And I will respond back to you to let you know that you were on it. And then make sure to be checking your inbox. Maybe turn notifications on your phone so you don't miss that email. It'll be coming out very soon. And you can get on the next one, Wanting More 21-day challenge. So I will talk to you on the next episode. A life of more is just one step away from being able to see things in a different way every single day. I love and appreciate you.
To get the show notes of each Women Wanting More episode, including the How to Get More tip, subscribe to the newsletter at drkarenosborn.com/newsletter.